Hello and welcome to Rosberry Crafts, my YouTube channel where I share all my crafty adventures. Today is December the 18th and the 18th day of Vlogmas. My name is Roz and I live in Lake Country, British Columbia, Canada with my husband and my two kids who are 12 and 11. I think I'm getting used to saying that now. It's only been a month. And every day of Vlogmas. Well, in the beginning, I forgot my whole spiel. Anyway, it is a very snowy Sunday out, and we're having a home day. I have been just sitting around, catching up on Vlogmases, and drinking hot tea and eating chocolates. Well, I had real food too, but yeah. In my swap, I got those lovely Dove chocolates. They are just milk chocolate. It's just like the perfect little to go with your tea. I won't show you because it's very full, but I have a gigantic mug of chai and eggnog, heated up latte style. So it is really good. And hopefully that will get me through today's talk. I'm going to, well, there's clips of my Advent. Taylor wanted to help me open them, but we just did it without sound, so you'll see all of those. And then maybe tomorrow I'll give you an update on like the full thing, what it looks like. And yesterday I recorded lots of clips, but nothing of me talking, which, you know, I'm sure you don't mind, but it's also felt really weird. I just never got around to it in the day. We were making cookies. We were getting ready for our holiday party. We have a group that we have been friends with since before the kids were born. And we try to get together every Christmas and do like a party and hang out. And we played some fun games. There's so much laughter. All the kids get along really well. One of the families has unfortunately moved to a different city, so they weren't here this year, but we do see them other times of the year and get together, all four families, but this time it was just the three families and it was super fun. Anyway, I'm not going to say too much more about that. So yeah, that was yesterday, and but here I am today, and I'm going to be talking about, I have my top 10 Advent knit patterns. These are all knit. I did look at some crochet ones as well, but I have some in my bundle, which I will link down below, along with all of the patterns that I talk about today. But yeah, if you're not interested in knitting patterns, then maybe skip this one. Go rewatch yesterday's. It's hilarious. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about some patterns that I've come up with. I'm going to be looking down because my computer is like down here. Slightly different setup today because I figured I was going to be recording longer and my back has been having some weird lower back pains, and I just thought that sitting on the floor maybe wasn't the best idea for me today. So I'm sitting on my sewing chair, which is a little bit padded, so you get like the higher up view of all of the stuff that I usually block out of the camera because it just looks like a pile of junk. But it's not. It's all very valuable stuff. It's just, you know, it's the extra stuff. Anyway, I'm just rambling on, so we'll get on with it. So the first pattern that has caught my eye and is new to me this year, I don't know if it just came out this year or not. I can probably look that up actually. No, it came out last year. So it's called the Shortest Day Shawl. And somebody sent this on one of the knitting groups that I'm on, and I just saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So it is like a long wrap, but the way that you knit it sounds really intriguing. You knit it in a loop and then you steek it and then you have fringe on each end. So you could wear it like a scarf. They also show in the picture that you could wear it like a triangle shawl where it's kind of like wrapped around you a couple times and then draped in front kind of like this. Yeah, so I'm very, very intrigued by this one. And I think that I would probably, so I have my Advent calendar from last year, which is my Ginger Snap That Santa's favorite. And it is a, like a rainbow, fade. That's the word I'm looking for. It's actually all right. Oh, you can't see it, the other side. This is the start of it here, or the end of it. So it went from purple all the way through to red. But it is like it could be started at any point, but that's how it went in the advent. And so I kind of like the idea of the fade. And then my northbound knitting is also kind of like a fade of colors. I'm not sure that it's a rainbow per se, but it is fading through a set of colors. And then my Fireweed Fiber Co. from this year is more like a mix. There isn't like a specific fade to it. It's all kind of, you know, it has the same kind of blue undertones with pops of other colors in it. And I mean, I love all of them. So I'm kind of trying to figure out which one is going to be good for more like blocks of color, which one is going to be good for kind of just more randomness of color, and which one is going to be kind of more of a fade of color. Because the northbound knitting is definitely very like very clear colors, but they do go, you know, in a certain direction together, but they are very kind of clear colors. The Ginger Snap, that one is more faded with, you know, overlapping colors in between kind of the more solid colors. And then the Fireweed Fiber Co. is definitely, I mean, it's all over the place, but in the best way possible. That's not a bad thing. It's just different, right? And which is, I think, amazing that I have 3 yarn advents and they're all very different. So the Shortest Day shawl, the sample project that was done on the pattern page has kind of stripe. You see the kind of the stripes. I think that I might like that one actually with the fireweed kind of randomness, because you would kind of get that blue undertone with different pops of color throughout it. And you would definitely see different colors all over the place, and you could kind of wrap it in a different way and you might get kind of different colors. So I was thinking that one might be the best use for that one, but we will see. This pattern is by Christina Gordon, and it came out last year in 2021. But it is fingering weight, just fingering weight. And so you just hold, all 3 of mine are fingering weight minis. So it is great. And sorry, I'm just going to scroll down here. They are meant to use most of a 20-gram mini, but there are adjustments if you only have like a 2-gram mini, or you want to throw in this. There are adjustments for anything from 2 grams to 20 grams. So she gives you lots of information on that one. Yeah, and then steeking. I mean, who isn't intrigued by this, right? I have done steeking before. I used, sorry, my back is really itchy. I don't know what's up. Probably a hair is stuck in there. I did a class. I've done a couple classes on steeking. I've done the crochet method. I've seen the sewn method. I haven't done it myself. And yeah, but anyway, so it's really cool and definitely worth doing and makes some really interesting stuff. So I'm very intrigued by that one. On to the next one. This one is by Amy Gunderson, and it's called Stripes Please. And this is another like long scarf, but this is really much more of a scarf. It is knit as a tube, and then you can close up the ends or not. So it's kind of like a double layer scarf. And the sample is knit just in the fingering weight, nothing held with it. And yeah, it like just like crazy stripes all over the place. I think it's kind of meant to use up kind of bits that you have. I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling down on the pattern. This was published this year. And yeah, so she, you know, she says, you know, fingering weight in many assorted colors. That she has 160 stripes in hers. So, but you could easily, you know, either make chunks or kind of do bits, and, you know, keep going, repeating a color palette. There's lots of different options. There are some projects on there as well that you can kind of take a look at how they're working up, you know, and it's just a big tube. So you're just knitting around and around and around, and, you know, it's very mindless knitting, but then at the end you have kind of like a wrap because it is quite wide, and then you could put fringe on or just do the ribbing at the end and kind of fit it, like you could, there's so many different things that you could do with that one. So it's very easy to kind of mix and match. I thought that one might be better, more striped and kind of in a pattern, whether it be the Ginger Snap one or the Northbound Knitting one, I think would look better with that kind of thing because it is meant to be worn as more of a wrap. So you'd see like purple on one side, red on the other, and blue and yellow and green in the middle, or, you know, and there's fewer ways to wear it maybe, but you would definitely, so you would see that color progression a lot better in something like that. Okay. Moving on, so the next one that I found is called Après Ski, and it is by, I'm going to say this, Shayna Billow. I think I'm saying that right. Again, I will link to everything down below, and you can pronounce it yourself. So this is a cowl, and yeah, it's called Après Ski. Did I say that? It's called Après Ski by Shayna Billow. Okay, I think I've covered it now. This one is actually 2 strands of fingering weight held together to make a worsted weight. Yes, and there's a lot of garter stitch in it. There's some, you know, some kind of different textures, but it is one of those like big long cowls. You can put fringe on it, so it has a lot of customization that way. You know, like say, similar to this one is a cowl, but you know, it's smaller in the back than it is in the front. So you get lots of drape in the front, but not too much in the back. So it's good for a jacket and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm waiting to kind of see some more because this one just came out, and it's for the Chelsea Luxe kit. I guess it was an advent kit or a countdown kit or whatever you want to call them, from that yarn dyer. So I'm waiting to kind of see. So a lot of people haven't posted pictures on it, but I'm really intrigued by it. I'd want to see kind of more what it looks like, what it wears like, before I decide if I want to make that one or if I want, you know, kind of more of a gradiated color. Because you get different folds on it, the same as kind of this one. I'm trying not to bump my mic this time. You might see different colors depending on how you fold it. So that could be kind of cool and like a gradient. We'll see. We'll see. So yeah, that one just came out this year. And yeah, and there are different sizes. There is a small and a large size. So you can use like more or less, so I could take some of the like 12 of the yarns and do something with it versus like all 24 of them, or, you know, there's options. There's options. So but it is kind of nice to have that, because some people only have a 12 skein mini skein advent words. But so the small one might work perfect for that, because you don't, and maybe you don't want a large cowl. Maybe you want something that's just you know, a little bit smaller around your neck. So there is that one. The next one that I'm looking at, and we are on to number 4 now, is the Color Play Pullover by Beth McDonald Stone. And all of these patterns are available on Ravelry, and I'm going to put the Ravelry links down below, but I'm also going to put the name of the pattern and the designer, and if you would rather Google them to see if they're on a different website as well, you can do that too, because I know Ravelry is hard for some people to use, but I use Ravelry, so anyway, so that's why I'm linking to there. Okay, the Color Play Pullover is designed for advents. It is a fingering weight held with a lace weight, such as a mohair or a suri or something fluffy to go with it. So it kind of dulls down the colors a little bit, and kind of makes everything blend when you have that like one color throughout, but then also all the colors together. So I don't have, so I would have to get that. I do have some black, but I think black over a top of a set of colors, it's not necessarily the look I was going for. I really liked, I really want to see the colors from the advent. And I think that would be best suited for either the Ginger Snap or the Northbound Knitting, because you would see that color progression. This pullover is really cool. It has a bit of a puff sleeve, but it is kind of more just like fitted in the body, straight in the body. And then, yeah, just it has some really neat details, and the fact that it's actually planned for that amount of 24 minis, then you can kind of, you follow the pattern more instead of trying to change a pattern to work with your minis. There are lots of other sweaters out there, but I liked the details on this. I liked the look of it. There's lots of different sized people wearing this particular pullover, and it looks great on everyone. So it just, you know, it's size inclusive. It's going to use a lot because there's a bit more fabric on different places. It's kind of got like the puff sleeves, so you get to use up all of your yarn instead of it sitting there not being used. And this one came out last year. Yeah, and there are lots of different, sorry, I'm scrolling down. There's lots of different kind of color palettes, you know, that it just appeals to me. It appeals to me. I'm not sure why. I didn't think I would ever be like a puff sleeve kind of girl, but it's not like a puff sleeve. It's just a little bit of something, right? So it's just a little bit more interesting. Yeah, something that I haven't seen before and looked really cool. So there is that one. And yeah, so, and there's options for 12 colors versus 24 colors, and she gives you all that information in the pattern, which is also useful. All right, on to number 5. I'm pretty sure I talked about this one in last year's Vlogmas, but I'm still very intrigued with it, so I'm going to bring it up again. And it's called the Colorful Geometry Loop. And I am not going to pronounce the name, but I'll put it down here. So this is a looped cowl, which I wear a lot of those, so that definitely intrigues me to begin with. It also knit on the bias, so instead of knitting this way, you're knitting kind of this way. I don't know if it's knit back and forth or how they do that, but probably that's what it is, because my foolproofs are knit back and forth. And the texture is just some knits and purls in this kind of like triangular pattern. And yeah, again, it's just fingering weight, so I already have that. I don't have to purchase anything to go with it, so that makes me happy. And it doesn't use, like, you could use a little bit from each yarn in order to do this, and then also use it in another project. I don't think you would need, maybe she says in here, 24 Advents yarn. Any fingering weight with good stitch definition. Yeah, it doesn't say how many. I mean, the total yardage used is 520 meters, and I know that my ginger snap has over 2,000. So, you know, you're not going to be using up all of your yarn doing this, but also it's a project I know I will wear. I'm very intrigued by the knit and purl texture that it has, and I know that I would wear it. So I could make some choices on that in doing like just every stripe, you know, make sure I get through the 24 stripes on something like the ginger snap, and then whatever is left I can use in another project. Or I could do something where I just pick like 6 of the colors and do that. So there's lots of options there as well. But yeah, that one has really been kind of in my mind, obviously, for a while, because I thought about it last year and I've thought about it this year. I think mostly, and this pattern came out in 2018, so it has been around a while. Yeah, I think mostly because those looped cowls I wear the most. This is a looped cowl. It's a different kind of style. But that kind of shawl / cowl look is what I gravitate to wearing. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about the most as far as making and sweaters. All right, on to number 6. This is another looped cowl. It's called the Texture Me cowl. So it's text and then bracket URE bracket me cowl. And this is by Jennifer Below. Again, I will link to everything down below, including the designers' names. So this is a cowl that came out earlier this year. I don't think it was specifically for Advents. It was probably more for just using up scraps and stuff. You have a main color, and then you have other kind of stripes of the Advent colors or scraps that you have. It probably came out with like a specific set. And she has there's like a whole pattern set with this same stitch pattern. And it looks like there's like the color is on top of the other yarn, and I'm sure it's some fancy slipped stitches or color work. I don't know exactly how she does it, but it is a really cool texture pattern. You get the stripes in it, you know, and you need kind of a base color underneath. Where's the yarn? So you need 100 grams of yarn and 6 contrasting colors at 10 grams each. So, and you repeat the pattern around. So you could do basically, you know, you get 2 grams of each or something like that, or maybe 4 grams of each. Oh, okay, there we go. Each contrast stripe uses approximately 2 grams of yarn. So if you had 24 stripes at 2 grams of yarn, so you're just using 2 grams of each of those colors. So, so that's one way to do it. And, you know, again, you're not using up all of that yarn in one project, but it is something that I would actually wear. So, you know, what do you do? But that looks a really cool stitch pattern. I don't know how mindless it would be. You'd probably get in the rhythm of it, but it is a really neat pattern. She has some with like a cream or a gray background and some with like a black and really bright colors, and it really pops, which is something that not very many of my cowls have that really bright pop. So that might be fun too. I don't know. Ideas, right? And again, I think this would be something for either my ginger snap or my northbound knitting, because you get kind of those more defined striped colors, even though they do fade in one into the other. You could mix them up too, because the whole color palette goes together, but it's kind of nice to see all those colors. Okay, on to the next one. This is 7. Had to count there. All right. I'm going to pronounce this, but I'm sure that it's wrong. The Anisadora shawl. I'm sure somebody will tell me how to pronounce that. And I will put it here as well. It's by Lindsay Fowler. It just came out this year, and it looks really cool. It's a very striped, so it's a triangle shawl, but you work, if this is the triangle, you work this way and work bigger, 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 and then smaller. And then there's a fringe left on the bottom with all your different stripes. So this could be great to use up a lot of scraps. It could also be really good for an advent. And then, yeah, you get this like built-in fringe at the bottom that's ready to go, and you don't have to do anything after. This one just came out this year, she says it's designed for that countdown kind of, but it could be a scrappy project as well. So any scraps you have left over kind of thing. Yeah, and so you need approximately, where does she say? The shampoo is shown. Oh, she used like a special thing. And yeah, color, layout. So you need 24 20-gram minis. So that's what I have in each of those. Although I don't know that you would use up all 20 grams of those stripes. I mean, it is a pretty big shawl, but I don't know if you'd use them all up, but it looks really cool. And like you're changing stripes quite often, which is how you get the fringe at the bottom. But you wouldn't need to weave in the ends because you're leaving them hanging just to tie into tassels. So it doesn't really matter that you're changing stripes all the time, but it may be something that you want to do after you open your advents to kind of arrange the colors more mismatched, or whether you want to have it as a gradient going across. Yeah, I think this one would be really cool in the fireweed yarn, because you just would get different pops of colors throughout the whole thing. You could mix and match and just go crazy with it, but it would still have a cohesive look to it. So, oh, chai eggnog is so good. All right, so there we go. That one is also in my queue. I think I gave you that, and that's just fingering weight by itself. So also don't need to purchase anything for that. The next one I have is called What Tomorrow Brings, and it's by Stephanie Lotven. I guess that's how you say it, Lotven, Lotven. And it is designed for light fingering weight, but I think it would work just fine with fingering weight. You might want to go up a needle size, and it's just a one size shawl, but it is a triangle shawl. It is very large. And it's knit in different directions, and there's like different panels for each day. So I think this one would be good for the Ginger Snap or the Northbound Knitting one. So you kind of get these different panels going across, and then there's different panels at the bottom. It's really cool construction. She's just got it in black and white on the Ravelry like sample photos because it's with an advent calendar from this year, so she doesn't want to spoil any of the colors, which is very nice of her. And yeah, this is released this year as well. So again, I'm kind of waiting to see like some samples, how it kind of knits up with all these different colors, if it would be better suited to like kind of break all the colors up, or whether it would be good to just kind of make it more cohesive. But yeah, it looks really cool, and I do wear triangular shawls sometimes. This is the problem with an advent, is there's 24 20-gram minis. You're getting a lot of yarn, and if you want to use it all in one project, then you're kind of you know, stuck doing a bigger project like a sweater or a big wrap or something. Whereas the cowls, I could use a little bit here and there, but then I wouldn't have the opportunity to do a full project with all of the yarn as well. So anyway, that was number 8. We'll move on to number 9. Number 9 is a hat pattern, actually, and again, it will not use up all of your stuff, but it's called Home for the Holidays, and it's by my friend Carla Ray. She's my local knitting friend, and she doesn't watch very often, but hi Carla if you're watching. And so you would hold 2 strands of fingering weight together to get like a DK worsted weight depending on the fingering. So it's kind of a slouchier toque, I guess, because you're using up the colors, but the way she marls in the colors, it just looks really cool. Yeah, and there's lots of different ways that you could do this. You could just use little bits of the yarn and kind of stripe them throughout. Yeah, anyway, it's a really cool pattern. You should definitely check it out. And she released that in 2020, so it has been out for a few years. There are a few projects on Ravelry, but yeah, she has a really good design aesthetic, and I love her colors on it too. I think that's what really drew me to it, is that I'd want to not match the colors, but kind of go with that same kind of like, what is the color palette, you know, where the colors are kind of striped versus just kind of like a overall mix of colors. But it's a really cool pattern as well, so you should definitely check that out. And the last one is another cowl, but it's a bigger cowl. Still not going to use all the yarn in one project though. So this is a fingering weight cowl, so you just the fingering weight, nothing else to add to it. And it is called The Land of Sweets by Helen Stewart. Now, this one is from 2017, and every year, not every year, for quite a few years, Helen Stewart has come out with Knit Vent. And this is a collection of knitting patterns that can be made in either 4 kind of advent sets or kind of quick gift knits. So she's released, I don't know what the first year was, but I think there's at least 5 sets of them out there now. And so they have kind of a mix of different things. A really popular one of hers is the Habitation Throw, which is meant for a 24 minis to make a blanket. And then this Land of Sweets cowls is really cool. So it is a large circular cowl, but you get to see all the colors, and there's different stitch patterns and lace and texture and stuff as you go up the cowl, and then it just kind of hangs similar to this one, where it just kind of hangs on you, and you know, you can kind of fold it in different ways, you know, have different bits sticking out so you can see different colors for the day. I've had that one in my queue or in my favorites for a long time. I've always really liked that kind of style. But again, it doesn't use up all of the yarn in that one project. But if I made a few different cowls with that yarn, then I would use up all that yarn. I don't know why I'm hung up on this, but I am. So maybe I will have to let that go in order to proceed. So what else about this one? Yeah, so you use, let's see, I'm pretty sure she lists it in here. 8 grams of each of the 24 colors. So there you go. So you're not gonna, if you have a 20 gram mini, you're not gonna use even half of it to do this, but you know, it could be something good for any of the 3 ones that I have, because you would get that gradient kind of thing. It'd be good for blocks of color. It'd be good because there's different stitch patterns each kind of row. Even though, you know, the colors are similar, you would still get a good kind of flow to it. It could work for all of them. So it's always kind of been in the back of my mind to make one of those, and yeah, an advent yarn would be really fun to do it in. So there you go. There is all 10 of the advent patterns that I am considering for this year. Again, I will link them all down below, and I'm gonna go finish my chai and see what my family's up to. So we will talk to you guys later.